Welcome to another episode of Life's a Garden. Today's guest is a mixed martial arts fighter. He fights out of the Grindhouse, and this weekend will be competing in Fusion Fight League. Friday, June 3rd, Metro Park, 7 o'clock, Rumble Under the Rims. You gotta be there. It's gonna be a fun time. He's also just an overall mixed martial arts fan. We talk a lot about UFC, Bellator, all that stuff. This is a great episode. So, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the show, Joey Lodine. All right, well, buddy, you got a big fight coming up this weekend.
Yes, sir. 7 days from today.
Friday, June 3rd, Metro Park. So everybody go out, check out these fights. I've been to a few of the Fusion fights at Metro. They're a blast.
Yeah.
And this is your second one?
So, second MMA fight. It's my third official fight. The second one was a boxing fight in Bozeman in March. So
right on.
Yep.
Well, let me just get some background on you just to start out. Like, how did you get into fighting? When did all that start? Just give me the whole lowdown on the fight game with you.
So when I was younger, I played all sorts of sports. I played football, I played basketball, and then I actually played college basketball. And always had like an interest in MMA. I've always watched UFC fights, Bellator, PFL, those sorts of things always interested me. But I never had any opportunity to train because you aren't allowed to. It's like skiing when you're playing sports. You got to focus on one thing because people go skiing and break a collarbone or something like that. So never could do it. And I had a buddy in college that he and I both agreed that once we were done with college basketball, we'd go try MMA, and then we kind of forgot about it after we graduated. And then he texted me, like, dude, 6 months from now, I did this Wimp to Warrior thing in Kalispell, and I'm fighting in 6 months. And I was like, cool, I'll be there. Showed up. It was a blast. He kicked serious ass, and I was really excited about that. And then I came here and started doing research about, like, the gyms here, joined Grindhouse, and then just didn't stop. So that was probably 2 years ago. Maybe a year and 3/4, something like that. But that was about a year or so ago, and then fought like a year and a half into it, and then won that, and then just loved it, and just want to get back in and do it again, man. So
and that first one was the boxing fight or the MMA fight?
No, first one was the MMA fight.
As far as out of Grindhouse goes. Right on. The I know they like to get you some time in the gym before they even put you out in the cage. Yep. So that's pretty cool. And so you said about 2 years ago is when you started? Yeah. And like, oh my God, dude, looking back, I always tell people this, if I could fight my younger self, it would just be hilarious. Really?
Because there's like videos of me doing combos and everything, and I'm all tight and scrunched in here, and I'm wide. Like nowadays, I would just kick my own ass, man.
Well, that's progress then. Yeah. So I'd be
take it.
It'd be bad if you looked at the same as when you started. Yeah. So clearly you're learning.
Man. Some people do.
Oh, I believe it. Especially when they don't put in the time and effort, or aren't serious about it.
Yep.
So it shows that you're actively serious about it.
Oh yeah. Yep.
And who do you know who you're fighting then?
Yeah, his name's Austin Clayton. He's out of Arizona. He's Division I ASU wrestler.
Okay.
Yep.
So you got the background on that. You're up against a wrestler.
Yep.
You got good wrestling defense?
Yeah, my takedown is pretty good. My takedown defense is good. The big thing, man, is Grindhouse is known for its jiu-jitsu. So right. As much as people are like, yeah, don't go to the ground and things like that, I have some tricks I can pull, especially on people who pressure. So wrestlers are very pressure oriented. They want to hit you, they want to hold you down, and jiu-jitsu is very flowing. So when you get someone in a position of stagnation, like sitting in certain positions, you can do tricky things with your body to put them in compromising situations, which I'm pretty good at.
Nice. Yeah. So did you you had the boxing fight then. Is that more of your background where you
Yeah, I want to swing and bang.
Okay.
Yep.
Stand up and kickboxing or just regular boxing?
Muay Thai.
Okay.
Yep. A little bit of Muay Thai background. But I'll box the brakes off of anybody too. So.
But that's good that you know the ground game as well, because so many guys end up on the ground and don't know what to do, or they at least just try and survive, and you're not winning any rounds doing that.
Yep.
So
some people win MMA fights completely just by controlling the top control. That's why the 10-minute control times, you see stuff like that, because people can't get out from under anybody. So yeah, it's good to have a little bit of experience, not just like in grappling, but also off of my back, especially with wrestlers and situations like that, because where they want to go is not a place I want to be uncomfortable, you know?
Right.
Yeah, so I'm happy about that.
What's the your opponent's record?
He's 1-0 in MMA
okay.
as well, yep.
I figured it'd probably be something similar, just because usually matchmakers are pretty good about getting people who have similar experience levels. Yeah.
Yep. They did a pretty good job about this. One's the classic striker grappler situation. If he wins, it's one of those things where he's gonna get me to the ground and hold me there. If I win, it's because I'm gonna fucking knock him out. So
that's fun, man.
Yeah.
Those are fun matchups too.
Yeah.
What weight class do you fight at?
So first fight was 185.
Okay.
And then this fight it's 170. So
Ooh,
big weight cut.
How's that going?
Surprisingly well. Yeah, my body's been doing well, handling it really well. I did a diet rather than too hard of a weight cut or a water cut, just because I want as much energy going in as I can.
For sure.
So I'll look leaner, but I'll have more energy than if I did water cut fully.
Yeah, that shit kills you. And I mean, it's not healthy for you either to cut that much water.
You seen like the Conor McGregor pictures where he's just completely
at 145?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was kind of scary. And now he's at like 175 or 185.
Yeah, he's walking around like 190 right now.
Oh yeah.
Dude. He's insane. He's jacked.
Yeah.
Which is sick.
So would you say you walk around 180 then, or
185, 190 is usually what I'm at.
Damn, that's a harsh cut. Down 20 pounds?
Yeah.
And so when do you start your weight cut?
Mm-hmm. When do I?
Yeah, like how far out?
Fight camp is all weight cut. So if I'm dieting, I completely change my eating processes through the whole camp. If it's more of a water cut, so like if I have to get to 175, like I'll have to in July, I'll cut just the week of. That's all I'll do is just, there's a certain routine you do with the amount of water you intake. But my dieting started same time as camp did, just cutting back all on carbs and everything, and increase the output and increase the output and decrease the input. So it just burns all your natural everything. So
right on. And it's a 8-week camp, or how long do you usually go camp?
Let's see. This one was 6 weeks.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Got the word that it was happening, because sometimes it's hard, because when you get started out, it's hard to find opponents that are game, essentially.
Sure.
So like in order to be assured of it, you have to have, the name, and you have to be able to kind of like know who it is to be able to be like, okay, it starts right now, because you don't go through a camp until you have like an opponent or anything. So as soon as I found out, it was straight to work. So
right on, man. Yeah, see, I never really understood how exactly the weight cut went, and that makes sense though that you would, and I assume, I guess it's probably different for every fighter. Do you end up doing a water cut more toward weigh-in? Mm-hmm. Just like a little, so it'll cut a bigger amount faster?
Yeah, so on Sunday what'll happen is, what you do is you increase largely the amount of water you drink. So it's like 2 gallons the first day, 2 gallons the second day, and then you gradually decrease that. Actually, it's more rapidly, so it's to 2, and then to 1, and then to half, and then to quarter, and then to nothing.
Damn.
And it's just because your body will, when you're drinking that much water, you're releasing all that liquid. You have to.
Yeah.
And with it goes everything. So when you put your body in flush mode, you keep it there, and that's why you like drink so much water, and then when you take away all of it so quickly, it's still flushing. So then you get really, really skinny, and then you get really like all your skin sucks to your body, and then the last day or so, you'll jump in like a really hot salt bath, and then you'll
just dries you out.
It's nasty, dude. It sucks.
Is it just the most relieving thing once you hit that weight, and then you're just like,
Oh yeah.
get to drink some water? Or what's the first thing you eat or drink?
Yeah, so this is an interesting concept to me because I have a lot of that I want to eat.
Sure.
I eat terrible when I'm not in camp, like Taco Bell. I don't care.
Right.
But immediately after, you want to do something with carbs, but you don't want to do anything too crazy, and you want to like have a little bit of reward because you want to put the weight back on. So I was thinking maybe some pancakes, bro, or some KFC chicken.
Yeah.
Some potatoes,
Pancakes are probably pretty good, just because it's like you said, rewarding, but also it's good. It's some that carbs, but not like overly.
Yeah, not too crazy bad for you. Like you don't think of pancakes.
It's not going to bog you down.
Mm-hmm. Because you want carbs to hold in the water that you can't eat, by the way, right away. You have to rehydrate first.
Yeah.
Your mouth actually doesn't, like your saliva doesn't actually produce the stuff to digest the food. So if you just start eating immediately after all that dehydration, you literally can't. It's nasty. But yeah, you got to drink a ton of like pickle juice for cramps and water. I drink beet juice.
Okay.
About 2 liters of beet juice.
That's smart.
Yep. And then, yeah, dude, but once that's over, I'm hurting for some pancakes.
Oh, sure. Well, and it's like, and then you get like, 24 hours to get back to whatever weight you are wanting to fight at, because obviously you're fighting at a heavier weight than what you weighed in at, which I've never liked the weight cut system. Like, it's, I don't know how much you listen to Joe Rogan. Yeah. But he always says it's like it's legal cheating.
Yeah.
And so just have everybody fight at their natural weight so then they can.
Yeah, like if we're both gonna weigh 185 pounds in the cage, why don't we just fight at 185 pounds?
Then you don't gotta hurt your body by doing the weight cut and all that. Like, I guess for some people, they can cut really, really small and then build really, really high.
Yep.
And so you have an advantage there.
Anderson Silva cut like 25 pounds every camp. Yoel Romero. Like, just these guys where it's like, listen, you don't weigh this. You don't.
Well, I know Michael Chandler and Alexander Volkanovski, they can get up to almost like 190. And they fight at 155, 145. So it's like, that's crazy.
Volkanovski was a pro rugby player at 200 pounds.
Like 230, I think.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. But you see videos of that man?
Yeah.
Don't even recognize him.
He's
thick.
Yeah. Well, and he's short, too. So it's like, he's just short and stout at that point. Yeah. But that guy's one of my favorites. He's so good. Do you have any fighters you like to that you're, I guess, inspired by, or ones that you model yourself after?
Yeah, and it's kind of changed because as I've actually fought, because you can be in the gym and like sparring and hitting pads and everything, and you'd be like, oh, I'm Israel Adesanya, I spin around it, but when you fight, everybody has like, that's like who you are, and I feel like in those moments, Nate Diaz is the guy that I'm thinking of.
Okay.
Every time. He's just bloody, it's dirty, it's very commendable, the stuff that he goes. Like, he's a warrior at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Like, and I really admire that, and I'd like to put myself in that sort of mindset. Maybe I don't look like that.
But as long as you have that mentality, it's a dog.
Yep. Want to have that sort of mindset. Want to be as entertaining as like a Chael Sonnen. I like the way he talks. He's very articulate. Obviously the attitude and confidence of Conor McGregor. Obviously everybody knows who he is for a reason, But personally, Nate Diaz is, if I could just take one guy and be like, that's who I want to be like, that's who it would be. Nate Diaz is the guy.
Right on. And so, real quick, how old are you?
23.
Okay.
Yep.
So, how long have you been kind of watching or paying attention to like UFC, Bellator, any kind of like MMA
fighting and all that? Yeah. Gosh, it's one of those things too where you just don't. I don't remember the moment it started. I just remember the next thing I knew all the 185ers names and everything like that. I think it really started more when Like I watched a little bit of Chael Sonnen, and I remember the big one that I really think was really cool was the Anderson Silva Chris Weidman fight.
Yeah.
Where Chris Weidman knocked him out, and it was like this whole big thing. And Anderson Silva was just such a goat, man. I mean, he beat everybody and was like undefeated like for 10 years or something.
Oh, yeah.
Ridiculous.
Well, nobody saw that. He was such an underdog.
Yeah.
Even though Weidman's a world-class wrestler.
Yeah, isn't that crazy to think some of these guys that are just not picked to win are absolutely just beasts?
Yeah. Well, and then Weidman went on to beat Luke Rockhold right after that.
Mm-hmm.
I think that was right after that. And nobody had him beating Rockhold either.
Yeah, Strikeforce champion. Like, yeah, Chris Weidman's one of the... And Chris Weidman was undefeated for a while.
Yeah.
And still an underdog, which, I mean, I get. But at the same time, it's like, you think people... back in the day before he won were like, yeah, this guy's got some talent, like he's no joke. I don't know why he's an underdog, or they like he's gonna get knocked out.
Well, it was also Anderson.
Yeah,
you know, it's really hard to not make somebody an underdog when Anderson at that time was like just the most unstoppable force.
At that time, he's still knocking dudes out. You seen his last fight?
Oh yeah, in those boxing fights,
he's such a demon, bro. It's crazy.
he's like 45.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's
Yeah,
a lot
no,
of
he's a
power.
stud. Okay, so right around that era, I'm trying to. I remember all that stuff too. That's about when I started watching too. I was a little late to like. I remember kind of watching Forrest Griffin and like Chuck Liddell, those kind for a little while, and then I got out of it for. I never really got super into it. Then I kind of just didn't watch it all.
Yep.
And then the fight that got me back into it was McGregor Aldo.
Yeah.
Like I knew all the hype behind McGregor was like. There was just like the whispers of it. Mm-hmm. It was already real in the UFC, but I wasn't paying attention.
Yeah.
But everybody knew.
Yep.
And then when you saw it, it was like, holy shit. And then from then on, I was pretty much on the Conor bandwagon. And lately, he's, you know, is what he is. But and he's not my... I probably wouldn't say he's my absolute favorite, but I'm still in his corner.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Everybody loves to watch him fight because he's just so... like, he's done things for the sport of mixed martial arts that nobody else really just had the personality or situation to do. Like, for example, not only all the talking, everybody knows all the hilarious lines and everything like that, but Aldo was no joke.
He was on like a 10-year win streak.
Mm-hmm. The King of Rio, dude.
Yeah.
And nobody saw that coming. And then he came out of nowhere and is like, I'm going to be the double champion. And then he's having these incredible fights with like Nate Diaz and everything like that. And then I don't know, man. He changed everything.
The entertainment factor, really.
Yep.
Like it's, and he backed it up at that time. You know, like he's obviously kind of. Then he went and got the Mayweather money, and I think all that kind of shifted him a little bit. Like he didn't have that hunger. Mm-hmm. I think he still wants legacy, but I don't think he needs to worry about that either. He's cemented, like, so he really has no fight. Like there's nothing to fight for anymore.
Yep. Unless he wants to come back and get a belt or something like that, or jump up a weight class. Like, the craziest thing I think Conor McGregor can do, in my opinion, if he does it, is fight at 170 and win a belt.
Oh, I see, and I agree that would be an amazing fight, and I think they would actually do it. Mm-hmm. I just don't see him beating Kamaru Usman. Usman is, pound for pound, the absolute best right now.
Oh, yeah, and he's just an animal in every aspect of it, because... yeah, sure, maybe if Conor McGregor, when Usman was more of a wrestler and he wasn't knocking people out the way he is now, Trevor Whitman as a striking coach is just, he'll turn you into an absolute beast on the feet. And he already had an incredible wrestling background.
Oh yeah, he's a world-class wrestler. And then now on top of it, he just knocks people clean out. Those fights with Colby were amazing. Like, those are some of the best fights we've seen in a long time, I think.
Yep.
There's been a lot of good fights, though. Like, this is probably the most talented the UFC has ever been.
Mm-hmm. Our era is we're very blessed to live in the time that we've lived in for MMA and things like that.
Yeah, absolutely.
I just don't think it's going to be the same. Like, that's the cool thing too, though, is like, I think it's because fighters are also thinking of themselves more. Like, how selfishly did Conor play out his career? And all of us loved it because we knew it was like, oh, you're going to go box for hundreds of millions of dollars? Yeah. Go kick ass, dude. We love you.
Well, a lot like things like what Sean O'Malley and who else was like Patty Pimblett. Like not only do they have that like star power thing, but they're kind of dictating their careers in a way. It's like, I'm not going to fight a ranked guy if I'm not getting paid like a ranked guy.
Exactly.
Pay me like a ranked guy, and go for it. But in the meantime, I'll just knock out all these undercard guys.
Yeah, I'll knock out who you put in front of me, and then give me the money to take those fights. Because back in the day, dude, like the Forrest Griffin and the Chuck Liddell and stuff like that, like, to be completely, with all due respect, and I loved every second of it, but they were meatheads who wanted to fight, which is a beautiful aspect of the sport, and I love that, but I think we've absolutely evolved into the entertainment part of it, where it's like, well, if I don't fight for 6 months, people might be more excited when I do fight than if I took 4 fights in 6 months and won two of the 4. You know what I mean?
Right.
Even if they're all bangers, we're never going to see them again. You get a year and then you're done. These guys are like, I'm going to make my money, get my endorsement deals.
Well, and there's a reason that guys like Nate Diaz, Conor McGregor, Jorge Masvidal, the thing that those 3 have in common, they're the 3 biggest draws. They make the most money pay-per-view wise, but none of them win. Like they're all on big losing streaks.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's not the skill, it's the entertainment value. You're getting the entertainment, and obviously they're not like, there is the skill. Like, they're not just like getting their asses kicked in there.
Right, they're good fights.
They're putting on a show.
Nate Diaz was. I mean, the most memorable part about that fight was from Nate Diaz because of who he is as a person. You know what I mean? So you make so much money in that sport, man, if you're just entertaining.
So is that the ultimate goal then?
Yeah, it is, and I think this is I'm excited for this particular fight because there's a lot of things in the works, like coming up in the future, that maybe aren't as big of fights in terms of the opponent. Because the guy I'm fighting like in a week is no joke. Like, he's a beast, and it's going to be an absolute war, and I'm excited for it. And then it's a good gauge to see where I'm at, because there's a lot on the table for me if I want to start like making some moves, you know what I mean? That Cody show that they've asked me to do some parts in with Walkout FC is like a charity event with Dan Severin's gonna be there.
Oh wow.
During Brewfest, like, I'm walking out to Sweet Caroline. I already picked it out.
For this one?
Nah, next one.
Oh, for that one.
Next one, yeah.
Are you keeping this one a secret, or?
Yeah, you'll see.
Okay.
You'll see what it is.
Deal. So anyway, you were saying the as far as the matchup and the build up and all that.
Yeah, it's just a good gauge, man, because I put a lot of work into this camp. I mean, the weight cut went really smoothly. I went through a lot just to like cut it, because it's another one of those things you sacrifice so much in your life. It's just like a person. Like, I don't get to go out and be out late with my friends like I want to sometimes. I don't get to do those things. I don't get to have drinks at, UFC events, but I'm also faster. I'm also, recovering really quickly from things. So
it's good to be disciplined like that, though, especially this early in your career.
Yeah.
Because it's like, if you can carry that inward.
Longevity, man.
Yeah. Well, and that's almost an effect of just the success of other fighters that have been able to prove, like, this is the method.
Yeah.
You have to be able to, like, not fuck around, and unless you're John Jones, who is just
partying,
an ungodly, phenom. But besides that, it's like, you got to be disciplined. You got to like, there's the time for the fun, and there's a time for the business.
Yep. And I think you do have to have both. That's why I think I'm gonna, like, I'll be good at it. But that's the other thing too, is going through the phase of being disciplined and the 6 weeks of camp. And camp sucks sometimes, man. You take real bad shots, and
I was gonna say, you got a little shiner.
Yeah, which is a little too close for the fight. I'm a little mad at myself for this one, but just the discipline of it, and then going through it, and the reward at the end of, even for me, like, I use it as a gauge of, if I go in there and I put on a show, like, if I can stand toe to toe with this guy and put my best foot forward, and it turns into a brawl, and it's just like people are on their feet at the end of it, then I'm happy. You know what I mean?
There is that thing where even in loss, you can win.
Oh yeah.
Like, as long as you don't get starched or get just choked out immediately and just completely like manhandled.
Yep.
if you put on a show, that's still a win for you in a way. Like, obviously it's not a win on your record, but it shows there's a lot to take from it personally, as far as like your skill level. If you stayed in, if you were in the fight, but it just so happened you got hit with
clipped, or you missed a positional switch, like that stuff I'm okay with, and that's why it's like one of those things where this is a great gauge, because this is somebody who's definitely capable of putting my lights out. You know what I mean? The same way I am with him. That's why I'm excited about it, because, you know, if I can hang with somebody like that and I can fight against these sorts of people, then when you put me in those big shows and I know what I'm going to bring out to the table, it's going to be super awesome. You know what I mean? I love walkouts. I love interacting with people, and I love like hanging out afterwards and those sorts of things. But I want to feel like, yeah, like I deserve to be here. And that's what I think this is for me, is just like a big show everybody what it is. You know what I mean?
Well, if people know you as somebody who comes out and puts on a show, like, yeah, you might have lost, maybe you lost 2 of your last 3 fights, but they were all just bangers, and people want to see you fight because they know they're gonna get a show. Mm-hmm. Like, that's still marketability. Mm-hmm. Like, you're still marketable with that.
Oh yeah, and like even in the UFC, like just fighting in general, man, undefeated is not a thing.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? You're not like the teams in basketball and stuff that are just stacked and they're always going to win because they have the best players. It's like if those guys got into a ring, you know what I mean? Anybody can knock anybody out. Anybody can catch anybody in anything. And that's why it's like one of those things where it's losses. Like you said, you can lose, but it's not necessarily losing if you make a good show of yourself.
Right.
Know?
And then, I guess as far as UFC standards go, if you're talking money-wise, you can still win bonus money from performances and stuff if you put on a good show. Mm-hmm. So it's like there's still aspects of that you can win even in loss.
Yep.
But once you get into the money stuff, winning definitely is better.
Oh yeah, I prefer to win.
For sure.
Let's be completely clear.
Yeah.
I am going out there to win the fight.
Yeah. You don't, I mean, obviously, there's nothing worse than the bitter taste of defeat.
Oh yeah. But that's why I work so hard, and then it's like I'll be happy with nothing less than a good performance. That's all I'm looking for. So
cool.
And I'm gonna trust me. This though, I am going with the intentions to finish the guy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But
yeah, I'm excited for it. It's gonna be a good show.
Oh, yeah.
I was curious. So with Fusion, you're not like contracted to Fusion, are you?
Mm-mm.
Okay, you're kind of just more of a, would you call it like a freelance fighter that you can fight under any promotion that'll have you?
Yep.
You don't sign contracts or nothing.
You for each individual fight
like
you do.
A single event contract.
Fight deals and things like that. Fight contracts. So obviously this one's under contract, so I couldn't just be like, yep, I'm gonna go to this other place and check it out. But
yeah, that makes sense. They can't have you just dipping out on them.
Yeah, which actually does happen. Some people, it's tough.
Is there a penalty for that?
Can't be, just because it's different, because they're becoming sanctioned events now, like more commission-based events, if that makes sense. So there's different rules now, but before you could honestly just call in and be like, hey, my knee feels busted, I'm not going to be able to fight. And then there's no penalty for that. So you go through 6 weeks of camp, which has happened twice to me, by the way.
Oh, that's the worst, man. Yeah. My sister used to do MMA, and she only had 1 fight, but she was scheduled to have 3.
Yep.
And finally she was just like, fuck this. I can't keep doing this weight cut and all this training and then end up with nothing. So it's like she kind of just ended up quitting that, and she does CrossFit now, but like she just was tired of the fight game as far as like just the inconsistencies of opponents. And the one time she did fight, her opponent then backed out, but they put a replacement in, and it happened to be like this world class or amateur fighter, not like a professional, but she had like at least 10 fights under her belt.
Yep.
And it's like, Jesus, dude, like throw her to the wolves, why don't you?
Exactly, yeah. Which is again another reason why I like the fact that I had a whole camp. I knew exactly what I'm up against. Like that, it'll be interesting to see what I can do with putting all that together. But you're right, man. The fact that so many people could, at least before, just drop out because some people really aren't game to do it, and they never were in the first place. but they don't let the world know until right before. And it's
Especially
pretty tough.
when you're first getting your toes in it, when you're like
Yeah.
early on.
Yeah, like let me bang, bro.
Yeah, right. What else was I going to ask you about Fusion? Or I guess you kind of answered all my questions with that. Oh, that's right. You don't got to give me a number, but do you get paid?
No.
Damn.
On purpose a little bit though. Cuz I'll tell you, I won't tell you numbers or anything like this, but the guy that I fought last time for Fusion does get paid.
Okay.
But there's sponsorship deals and things like that, endorsements, different things. And he lost, by the way. Let's be very clear. I have not lost yet. This man has lost twice.
Okay.
And he gets paid.
Right.
Which is obviously more than me, because I'm not getting paid right now. But it's on purpose, because I don't, like, when I start taking sponsorships, and let's be clear about this too, is like, I could be paid, but I don't want to just, like, jump into those sorts of things until I'm confident in what I'm doing already, and, like, being able to market myself. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Because, like, there's a couple of different people that I took cards for that were like, hey, man, let's talk and everything like that. But until I know what I'm offering and I know at least some value behind who I am as a fighter, then I'm not. Because it's bigger numbers that way. You know what I mean?
True. And then also if you have sponsors and then you end up losing and then they're like, well, I don't want to deal with you. And then if you start winning again, it's like, well, we tried this once before. Like, you already kind of burned your bridge. So that's fairly smart. And it gives you, like, more incentive to... Because win or lose, you get paid with the sponsorship thing. So it's like, you're playing the long game.
Yep. And like I said, man, if I go in there and I put on these crazy shows, like, and all I'm doing is I'm doing it for myself, and I don't gotta, answer to nobody, it's more entertaining. And then I can be more specific about what I want.
Right.
So if I went up to someone and I'm like, okay, let's do this, but here's the deal, you want me to be your fighter, it's going to be the way that I fought the whole time.
Yeah.
And then I get to do what I want, and it'll just be way more freedom involved with doing that, and it'll just be kind of badass.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that's commendable for sure. I mean, so essentially what you're saying is you pay for your training, your camp, all that stuff out of pocket. Mm-hmm. What about insurance? Do they at least insure you?
Yeah, they've got all that stuff on hand too. So all the medical and things like that is taken care of.
Well, that's good.
There, yeah.
That's relieving, because that would be my biggest fear, honestly.
Yeah.
It's like having to pay medical out of pocket. It's like...
Yeah. No, it's different. It's different with commission-based stuff too, because there's more safety precautions and things like that too. So it's definitely well ran and well put together. So yeah, it is good in terms of organization as well, especially now more recently. But just like I said, man, like the sponsorship and money side of it is just I can't even with that side of it, because it's like I'm already freaking out to fight in the cage again, you know?
For sure. So, I blanked. Who are your coaches?
Yeah. So Will Grindhauser, he runs Grindhouse and everything like that. Obviously, he was a pro fighter back in the day. Not really for Fusion, but with those same kind of guys and stuff like that. Which also, let's be clear about that too. That's also the end goal is pro.
Yeah.
Where you get paid a lot. I mean, even Fusion fighters get paid a good hunk of change to do it. But yeah, he fought for a while and undefeated, won belts, almost in the UFC. But there's a funny story around that. But yeah. Didn't end up taking the deal to go into the UFC, and then Mikey Zindler is another one of the guys that he's more of a training partner, but he's also one of my coaches.
He'll be in your corner then?
I think he's actually going to be in Mexico, I believe. He's in Cancun for a grappling tournament. It's like an invite-only combat jiu-jitsu, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, I saw him fight in one of those last ones that I...
Yep. Yep, the one where he
had
was being all cocky.
But he had a tough matchup, man. Like,
Yep.
that dude was no joke. Like, that guy looked pretty pro. Like, pretty pro-ready.
Yep.
Because he was a champ or whatever.
Yep.
He was like 32 and something. I was like...
Did you see he had his UFC debut?
Oh, see, and I had a feeling. I was like, this kid... Like, just the way he moved, you could tell he was very polished.
Yep.
I was like...
It was Contender Series or something like that.
Okay, I had no idea.
Yeah. Daryl Alderman. Yeah. He took a knee to the face on a takedown. Like, directly, like, Ben Askren level, and ate it.
Jeez.
Just right through, completed the takedown, and beat the guy up on the ground. And then at the end of it, he's, like, still got the same face. I'm like, some people are made of iron.
Yeah, for
Truly.
real. So anyway, coaches.
Yes. Yep. And then Shane Havoc Victor. He's one of my boxing coaches. He was in my corner in Bozeman. He's another pro fighter, trying to get into some different stuff again. But he was fighting for so long. Won belts. Fought in trained with Alistar Overeem.
Damn.
He went and trained Muay Thai. Overseas. I don't remember. I'm drawing wherever the heck the Muay Thai people go.
Thailand.
Obviously. Wow.
Yeah. We all do it.
That's where he was.
Right on.
Thailand.
Is that everybody?
Mm-hmm.
Right on. As far as record goes, this goes on pro record, does it? Or is it considered an amateur record?
Yeah, amateur and pro record are very different.
Okay.
So, which is an interesting concept. Cody Garbrandt went 0-2 in his amateur fights, and then went on, as soon as he went pro, just went on.
Like 10-0 or 11-0.
Yeah.
And now he's on like an 0-5 streak or something like that.
But the interesting part about it is the amateur record is kind of hidden. You don't really see that until people go pro, because your pro record is 0-0 no matter what.
Right.
And then, like, you start out from the same spot. So you'll get guys who've boxed for 10 years and have 300 fights, and then they go pro and they're 0-0. So there's the amateur side of things is really interesting, because that's a whole journey in and of itself before you even get to the pro ranks. And then once you're pro, you take all of that time that you didn't have to be training before, and then you're in it now. You know what I mean? You're a fighter now. So you have to go through the amateur journey and love it before you can start, taking those pro fights.
So what qualifies a fight to be pro? Can you have a pro fight in Fusion?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, there's pro fights on the card.
So basically, any organization you can have professional fights or considered.
Most like legit shows have like 2 or 3 pro MMA bouts.
So what is it? What constitutes a pro fight?
Amateur fights, you can't throw knees to the head. You can't throw elbows to the head. Grounded kicks to the face. I'm gonna have to ask on this next one, because I want to do that.
And I'm sure rules vary.
Yeah, it does vary, but the basic rules that are universal are no elbows and no knees to the head in amateur, and yes, in pro. So a lot more cuts and everything like that. There's obviously more nuances to it, but...
And you just kind of sign a pro or amateur contract? Is that kind of how that works?
Yep.
There's like, this is going to be an amateur fight, or this is going to be a pro fight.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep. And like I said, pro fighters get paid, and they even like at like a Fusion level, they get paid.
Okay, so as far as pro fights, the organization pays them on top of if they have sponsors?
Yep.
Gotcha.
That's why like pro fighters come from everywhere.
Sure.
So like we'll have like Grindhouse has pro fighters and everything like that, and you'll see them fight guys from Vegas. You'll see them fight guys from all over the place, because obviously there's more. They're gonna show up. It's a pro. You're on a contract. It's your job. You're getting paid to do it. All your travel and everything is free and all that. They want you to come fight. So they'll find people from anywhere to have good fights, because they know both guys are going to show up, and they know what they're going to do because they've got all those amateur records, So So yeah, any organization can have pro fights. Fusion's gonna have, I think, 2 of them. But yeah.
Nice. Well, okay, so that actually, I learned something there because I had no idea how that worked.
Yeah.
So that's interesting. I'm glad I know that now.
Yeah.
And then when do you get to decide if it's going to be pro, or do they decide?
It kind of depends on your gym, honestly.
Oh.
Because like for me, I literally won't fight anybody unless Will says. Like, Will has the say in all of it. That's why, like, I'm fighting the guy I am now. He just said, hey, you're fighting June 3rd. Cool. Because I'm in the gym anyways. It's like, all I know is that fight camp started. And so it's like, he'll just tell me who I'm fighting. And same thing with him. He'll tell you not to go pro. Like, it's not a good idea, but yes.
He just kind of watches out and sees what he's...
Yeah.
Just, okay.
But
what a good coach would do.
Yeah, exactly. But you can go pro at any point. Like, you can just tell the organization, I want to fight on this pro card. And obviously, they're not going to just be like, any Tom, Dick, and Harry can come in here and tell me that they're a pro. You have to have, like, obviously a vetted amateur or pro record. And they don't often do that. Not anymore, but you can let them know you'd like to fight as a pro, and they can, improve you. You could go in there if you wanted to. They wouldn't let it happen, I hope.
I also hope not.
But if they wanted to sign you to a contract, you're in there.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I've seen, like, that one that my sister did. I don't know if that was Fusion or not. I want to say it wasn't. Mm-hmm. But that was some janky stuff. Like, there were some people that were like... how have you lived in Billings? How long?
As long as I've been training, 2 years.
Okay, and you said you're from...
From Miles City, Bozeman, Missoula.
Just all around.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Mostly those 3.
Okay, so there used to be this bar just right down the street, a good distance down the street here. They used to have MMA fights outside.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, dude, it's the most janky thing. And, like, it's like people that don't belong in there. They're clearly, like, very undertrained. It's just the most amateur you can be.
They just get in there.
Yeah. Well, they don't just pull people out. I mean, they are, like, on the card. Mm-hmm. And they technically trained for it.
Yeah.
But it doesn't look like it.
Yep.
It's like, at some points, I'm like, I could probably go in there and at least handle myself a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah.
But everyone says that. And then they get in there and it's, like, totally different.
Well, it's a different world, man. But you're right. There are some shows that are of that level and of that caliber. And they're not really sanctioned things at all.
I didn't think so.
Just get in there and throw hands, I guess.
Pretty much. It's just for bar entertainment.
Yep.
Okay, so where'd you go to high school then?
So I went to... This is where the living all over comes in.
Just kind of bounced around then?
Yeah, I lived in Missoula and went to Valley Christian in Missoula, which is a private school in Missoula. And then end of my junior summer, heading into my senior year, I moved to Manhattan, Churchill area, which is right outside of Bozeman, and went to Manhattan Christian, played for a state championship, lost RLE, and then went to college in Miles City. So that's the 3 of them.
Did you play ball in Miles City too?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say you're tall enough. Like you got that range. So.
Oh yeah, dude, I was dunking on fools back in the day.
Very nice.
Had to.
How tall are you?
6'6".
Oh shit. Okay.
Yeah.
Right on.
Oh.
So that gives you an advantage a little bit too in the fighting as far as like reach, right?
9 times out of 10, yes. This guy's 6'4".
Okay, so I guess at those higher weights, I guess you're fighting at a lower weight.
170.
Yeah, you're fighting at a lower. So maybe that is more the height for those.
They picked it well. They did a good job in picking this matchup. They were like, no advantages. Reach, screw you.
It's a good test. You'll learn and hopefully you just beat the brakes off him. And
it's ideal, right?
Yeah, and if you do, then that just shows where you're at. Mm-hmm. It's like this guy's kind of no punk.
Yeah.
He's got a background already.
Mm-hmm.
He's got the height and whatnot.
Trains with UFC fighters, bro. He comes from a UFC gym.
Really?
Oh, yeah. He was training with Eric Anders or whatever. Mm-hmm. There's some sparring pictures and stuff with him. So that's why I'm saying it's a great, great gauge. Because even if I'm hanging with this guy and I'm like, if I feel like I'm in that fight and I'm like, and obviously when I knock him out, it's going to feel great. But like the minute I get in there and like feel that, you know what I mean? Being literally in the octagon and like being in that moment and knowing, you know, what I'm capable of with that level of competition that competes against UFC guys, then I know where I'm going, you know.
For sure.
So.
This would definitely be a question probably to ask you more after the fight.
Mm-hmm.
But you have had the one. What, for you personally, was that feeling like when that cage door shuts, your opponent's across from you? Like, some guys get really adrenaline, some guys just are real calm. Like, what was that like for you?
So it's a little bit of everything. It's the best feeling ever. It's very intoxicating because it's like a drug. There's just a release of so many different things. Obviously, there's adrenaline. Obviously, there's just testosterone from this weight cut where you just had all this energy back into your body. There's people watching you. And then on top of that, your fight or flight kicks in, and you now have no flight option. So your body goes, and your brain even goes to a different place, because it's no longer... It's like in Transformers when like Optimus Prime drops his helmet in front of his face and stuff like that, and then he's like it's battle mode.
Yeah.
It's a completely different version of yourself. And for me personally, it's very focused. I just feel I have a job. So it's not like it's you know, anything other than that. I'm going in there with one thing in mind, and whatever I have to do to accomplish my goal. It's just very focused because there's no time to be thinking about anything else, hearing anybody. That's a big thing that was like for me, I couldn't hear what anybody but my coach was saying, and it was loud in there.
Well, that's good then.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sure that's a struggle for a lot of young fighters is just blocking out that noise, or either blocking it out completely or not being able to block it out at all.
Yep.
Where you're blocking out your coaches as well. But it's good that you can...
Yeah, hear what you're supposed to hear type thing.
You get pretty good sparring sessions in then? Is it pretty...
Yeah.
Do they do a pretty good job of, like, simulating...
We do, so it's very... Sparring sessions are very geared towards every aspect of the fight, because when you break down a fight, especially against people who have specialties like grapplers and things like that, you have to target on each aspect of it. So we do clinch work sparring, inside dirty boxing sparring, and then obviously combat jiu-jitsu, regular jiu-jitsu, wrestling, and then at the end of it we usually strike and things like that, because your striking wants to be from a place of tiredness. You want no cardio and then be able to stand and throw hands with somebody, and grappling is really draining, so you want to start with that and then get it all out of the way, train that as intensely as you can, and then a tired you can strike, you know.
Yeah.
So.
And what's the minute rounds? Is it 3 minutes or is it 5?
I believe it's 3.
Okay.
3 minute round. 3 rounds for fusion. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Is that what is 5? Is 3 5 minutes standard, or is that just UFC and like the higher
it's pro.
leagues? Okay.
Usually pro 3 5 minute rounds. 5 minutes is title fights.
Yes.
And that's usually another discrepancy between pro and amateur fights. It is kind of different depending on what show you're with, but 3-3 is pretty standard for MMA.
Right on.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna give you. Well, let's start with this. So you seem pretty well versed in UFC and Bellator history, and I'm actually not as keyed in on Bellator.
Mm-hmm.
I know a little bit.
Yeah.
So I'm just gonna.
UFC is the big one.
I'll specifically ask for UFC because I know it, and most people do.
Yeah.
Your top 5, not best, because it's a hard debate.
Mm-hmm.
Just top 5 favorite, personal favorite fighters.
Okay.
Throughout all time.
All time?
Yeah, not currently.
Okay, and are we going based off of personality or overall I just like them?
Just whatever it is.
Okay. So I'm going to go, I like Chael Sonnen a lot. I think he brought a lot of eyes the same way Conor McGregor did.
He was the Conor before Conor.
Exactly, and I still think he might be the best trash talker of all time.
He very easily could, yeah.
Yep. I think, in no particular order either.
Yeah.
Yep. Anderson Silva, just because I think as far as striking goes and just a dominant striker in general, Anderson Silva, which, by the way, still a jiu-jitsu black belt. Like, it's crazy how many of those guys are strikers, and you're like, oh, they're kickboxers. But they also have jiu-jitsu backgrounds that are really diverse. So, yeah, Anderson Silva's dominant reign was some of my favorite to watch. I liked Chuck Liddell just because he was the OG, like, bad mother effer dude. Like,
oh, yeah. He was also kind of a first Conor in the way that he was like the franchise guy.
Yeah. Yep. He just beat he was doing the personal things and like branding himself and bringing himself and the brand of MMA, and he was the only one really doing it. He was in movies, commercials.
Yeah.
Like, nobody was really doing that. We were all just beating the brakes off of each other, and
everyone knew who Chuck Liddell was.
Exactly. And so he brought a lot of eyes to the sport that I think I liked and enjoyed watching. I really nowadays like Sean O'Malley. I think that's 4.
That's 4.
Yeah, I just like his personality, and his style is just so fluid. His striking's on another level, but his jiu-jitsu's not bad either. Like, he just hasn't.
You just haven't seen it really, and he's from here.
Exactly. So he fought on Fusion, by the way.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, and his coach is also Tim Welsh, is from Great Falls, I think.
Yep. And I think he trained some in Helena too. Like, he's from Helena or something like that.
Sean, yeah.
Yep. Just cool. I think that's cool.
It's super cool. I mean, he tends to talk a lot of shit about Montana, but
yeah.
But I think he still has, like, you know.
Yeah.
He's definitely more of like a big star now. So
showman,
yeah. Oh, he's easily like the current kind of Conor-esque guy that's winning, has the mouth, has the attitude, just has that fire.
Yeah, and he's a young guy. He's got plenty of time ahead of him, and he's so smart. Longevity is huge, and as soon as you're building this massive brand, like, same sort of thing that I was telling you about before, you take all this money and everything, and you get locked down into fighting for one, group, and it gets harder and harder. Build a personal brand, you know what I mean? And then bring that to the table when you're fighting, and then you're a star. You know what I mean? So I like him doing that, and I like that he backs it up. Like you said, same sort of Conor way. And I think my 5th is the new to the game, Paddy Pimblett. I really like him.
He's fun.
Yeah. I like his attitude. I like how fat he is.
Yeah. How he somehow balances that. Like, it's pretty hard to compromise or to comprehend how he pulls that off.
Yeah. I don't know that weight cut, and honestly, I'm really about it. Like, it makes me want to eat ice cream every day.
Well, he's got it dialed in somehow, so.
Yeah, I don't know how he cuts back after, and then, because he's fat.
Yeah, he gets big.
Yeah, like, no joke, big fella, which, again, has me thinking about waffles, man. Oh my god, waffles, pancakes, tons of syrup, snow cones. See, that's the hard part right there, is I just get hungry, man. I'm hungry right now.
That would crush me.
Yeah.
I'm actually currently dieting also. Probably not as long as you have been, but I just started last week because I got a couple weddings I'm going to be in, so I'm just trying to look good in a suit.
Yeah, got you.
But I know once I get further down the line of that, I'm going to be like, oh,
yep,
chocolate.
I would make one recommendation to you if you're, like, weight cutting dieting. Give yourself, like, a targeted time to cheat.
Sure.
And don't do it like, because are you working out and dieting? Yeah. Yep. Give yourself a targeted time to cheat, because it'll help you mentally go through it all, and be able to last longer, because at the end of it, if you don't see like an end and you're like, oh my god, I'm just trying to look good in this suit, it's like, it's not worth it. I'm going to have that piece of cake.
Well, and eventually I plan on carrying it a little further past that. But that was just like the initial idea.
Yep.
And for health reasons, just to feel better. And
Oh, yeah.
I was just eating like dog shit for a long, long time, and I was like, time to pull that back a little bit.
Same, dude. Taco Bell, the quesadillas, like the... And forgive me if I go in depth about food. I dream about like shitty food, but like Taco Bell quesadillas, man. Oh my god! Like I remember just pulling up to a drive-through of that and be like, oh, this is easy.
Yeah.
Like this is easy food. I don't have to like count it out, and it's not green and fucking gross and have no sort of nothing on it. Sugar. I'm a huge sugar guy.
I have bad sweet tooth also.
Yeah.
I'll eat anything that's sweet.
Yeah.
Pastries.
Donuts.
Oh, there was at work today. They had a bunch of Krispy Kreme donuts. And I was like,
yeah, it's like a magnet. Like you seen that thing from SpongeBob where like the smell comes out and grabs them by the nostrils and
pulls them in.
That's me, man. Like I see it and it's just sucks.
All right, so let me give you this. I'm going to give you a couple of fighters. You tell me who's better.
Okay.
John Jones.
Okay.
Anderson Silva. Primes.
And then we're not talking if they fought each other.
Well, they're not the same weight class, are
right,
they?
but I mean like
that might be a bad matchup.
Yeah.
Because I'd want to put them in the weight classes.
Yeah.
Who would Anderson? What did Anderson fight? Welterweight?
Yeah, he would have fought him versus Israel Adesanya, I think.
Okay, that's actually what I originally wanted to say was Adesanya. So Adesanya and Anderson. Yeah. Now they had fought before, but that wasn't prime Anderson.
Yep. Which was also still I think honestly, personally, I think Anderson Silva wins most of those times just because he was already old and still stood with Israel Adesanya, and I think that there's weaknesses to Israel Adesanya's game in the kickboxing realm that have been displayed by, like, for example, new UFC Alex Pereira fighting in July. He's the only one who's knocked out Israel Adesanya cold in kickboxing, and Anderson Silva would murder Alex Pereira, like just murder him.
Yeah.
And I don't think that any form of Israel Adesanya now is just at the same level as Anderson Silva was. And maybe I'm wrong, but
it would be a hell of a fight.
Yeah, I think so too. I think it would end in a finish for sure.
Yeah. Prime Jose Aldo, prime Alex Volkanovski, which is probably right now.
Jose's old.
No, I mean Alexander, like Volkanovski probably is in his prime right now. And honestly, Jose's looking pretty good in bantamweight. Like he's like the number 4th ranked or something like that.
Throwing hands.
He's a stud still. But anyway, prime at 45.
Volkanovski.
I think so too.
Just because, I mean, Jose Aldo's fast. His leg kicks are ridiculous. But personally, I think the level of fighter that Alexander Volkanovski has gone to absolute war with, Brian Ortega, Max Holloway twice, like these sorts of guys are like absolute legends of the game.
He's got power.
Mm-hmm. And he's fought Jose Aldo, and he's still like, he was still good. I mean, Jose's still good. So I think Volkanovski's wrestling and just overall durability, it would be a great fight too.
Agreed. Yeah. All right, this is probably the toughest one.
Okay.
For me, for sure. Like, I have a really hard time with this one.
Yeah.
Kamaru Usman, George St. Pierre.
Yeah. There's one I have dreams about, bro.
That's hard because
it's a hard one.
It's hard because you see what Usman's doing now, and it's just so hard to imagine. And to an extent, it's like I would agree that the talent is tougher now than it was when George was fighting. Mm-hmm. But I can't say George wouldn't beat the brakes off of anybody now, too, in his prime. When you go back and look at prime George, it's unreal.
Yeah. I think he's a transcendent athlete. And I think that's why he would match up well with anybody in today's. That's why the Kamaru Usman fight is so interesting, is because he was a pioneer of the athletic side of it. Like, Kamaru Usman's an absolute monster, and he's jacked, and he's got all this power. GSP was training gymnastics and training in different regimens that were targeted towards him being the best well-rounded athlete, and that's why, in my opinion, he's the GOAT.
Yeah,
because he fought so many different ways.
He's a karate background, isn't he?
Mm-hmm.
That's very rare.
Yeah, and his wrestling is really good, which is, I think, one of those things that would give, like, for example, Colby Covington gave Kamaru Usman arguably his toughest 2 fights.
Mm-hmm.
I think GSP murders Colby.
I would agree.
Yeah, and so I think he would give Kamaru the hardest time and win.
It'd be a great. Yeah, I would actually agree with you, but it would be an awesome fight.
Oh yeah, that would be probably that one that I'd pay money to see that.
See, and I don't think George wins 9 times out, or I don't think he wins 10 out of 10.
No,
I think Kamaru gets a few in there, but I think George comes out on top most times.
Yeah. And I think it's a bloody, grueling, really because they're both so athletic. Pushing them to that brink would be so interesting to watch because they'd test each other the whole way. Matt Hughes fights with GSP, and Matt Hughes was a freak too.
Mm-hmm.
Like, those sorts of guys are just athletically strong, and that's why Kamaru Usman versus another really athletically strong person would be so entertaining. Even not saying nobody else is.
Right.
Nobody come at me. But
and GSP's just so smart too. He's just so intelligent in the ring.
Mm-hmm.
Who is that stud in Bellator at not welterweight, at middleweight?
At middleweight, that just had that win.
Yeah,
over Paige Van Zant's boyfriend. I know who you're talking about. I don't remember his name. It's gonna kill me.
We're not talking about Paige Van Zant's boyfriend, are we?
No.
Yeah, the guy he fought.
Yep, he fought him and it had a pretty decisive victory.
If I see the name, I'll know. Let me see real quick.
He was all like, "I'm the best on the planet right now."
Well, and I was gonna say him versus Izzy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Let me see Bellator. Because they're saying that those two are the best middleweights.
Yeah, I don't know, man. Izzy's the best.
I would have
this time.
Oh, Gegard.
Yeah.
Gegard Mousasi.
Yeah. Mousasi, baby. Who was it he fought? Tyler something or Noah something?
I do not know.
Paige Van Zant's boyfriend.
Johnny Eblin, maybe? Mm-hmm. Oh, no, that's the next fight. Austin Vanderfort. Yep, who was also no joke. Oh, yeah.
So him to get beat was, and as handily as he was like pretty solid. But I think before I see Mousasi fight Adesanya, I've got to see Alex Pereira fight him again. We've got to see that. I've got to see Jaron Cannonier.
But first, Pereira's got to get past Sean Strickland, who's a freaking wild man.
Look how quickly, it's almost funny how marketing has taken over UFC.
Mm-hmm.
Alex Pereira is on a fast track to a title shot because it's just going to sell so many tickets.
Well, he's not even ranked.
Exactly.
He's fighting the number 4 guy.
Yeah. Sean Strickland is well ahead of him in that. Jared Cannonier has been on deck for so long, but anybody, and they're not going to know who Sean Strickland is. They're not going to know who Jared Cannonier is. Everybody knows who Adesanya is, and you don't have to be anybody unless you're the guy who knocked him out before.
Right.
You're the one thing.
Twice.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying, man, is like they don't want to see Sean Strickland versus Adesanya.
Although that could be interesting because Sean Strickland has such a wild mentality. And he's got a mouth on him too, so it's like but he doesn't do it in like a Colby way. He just does it in like a I don't know that he's crazy. Yeah. He's legit nuts.
Yeah. You know what though is I think his last fight, and this is why it's also so interesting. His last fight in the UFC, in my opinion, was not it. He was all like, I'm going to knock this guy out against Jack Hermanson, and then I'm going to go and fight for the belt. You gotta go out there, man.
Well, and you got to beat one of these top guys like Cannonier, Brunson.
And you gotta do it with emphatic fashion.
Mm-hmm.
Like, Jared Cannonier made a statement. And he was like, listen, I'm next.
Well, Marvin, you got to get to Marvin Vittori, really. Like,
Yeah.
or Whitaker.
Mm-hmm.
Like, who, we can't say Whitaker's out of this yet.
Oh, yeah.
They were talking about Whitaker potentially dropping down and going to fight, like, Usman or Colby, which
Yep.
would be fantastic.
I think that would be an amazing couple of matchups if he's gonna do that. He's just, his health has always been kind of an issue, and so hopefully if he can do that cut, I would love to see that.
Yeah.
Love to see that. But yeah, man, you got to get through those guys to fight the title shot, and they're fast tracking Alex Pereira so transparently right up to number 4 Sean Strickland, and it's funny because you know who they want to win.
Yeah.
They want Alex Pereira
Of course.
to win. Nobody wants to see Sean Strickland unless he beats the brakes off Alex Pereira.
Yeah, then it might give him more levity. But even still, I think even if Sean Strickland beats... The only reason if he beats Alex Pereira, he'd get a title shot is because Adesanya's already beat everyone else.
Yep.
And he first has to beat Cannonier, and Cannonier's no joke.
Mm-hmm.
Like, Cannonier could easily go in swinging wild and knock him out, or wrestle him.
Yeah.
Cannonier, I'm sure, gets up heavy.
Look at him, too. He's built.
He used to fight at heavyweight.
Yeah. Yeah. And, well, he had success at heavyweight, and he's just stacked now.
Oh, he looks like a freaking statue.
Yeah.
He looks like he's made out of marble.
Yeah. Yeah. You know what's crazy is I'm going to be at that fight?
Are you?
Yeah.
Where is that?
Vegas, July 2nd.
Hell yeah.
I bought the tickets to it before they released the card.
Nice.
Like, well into the year, so I didn't have to pay as much money. And I was like, well, let's see what happens. And then they released it, and I was like, great, cool. It's just going to be the best show of the year.
The July show is always top notch.
Yeah.
And I was going to go down to that last one.
Mm-hmm.
The
Max Holloway one.
No. The
Green Zombie.
who was it? It was not a good fight. So I'm glad I didn't go.
Yeah.
It was when Rose fought Carla Esparza
Yeah.
and
That
Michael
was-
Chandler, Tony Ferguson.
And that one, Justin Gaethje, Charles Holloway.
Yeah, well, and that was a good fight, but I was going for Justin Gaethje.
Yeah, and
So-
it was short. It was a short.
It was. So that kind of, and to see that Rose Esparza fight, that was a really rough fight to watch.
For
Yeah.
a championship 5-round fight, you're gonna stand around the middle and patty cake around. Come on, now we know that Carla Esparza wants to take her down, and we know that Rose was looking for a knockout.
Yeah.
So go,
Yeah, somebody's gonna.
go for it.
I get Rose being hesitant, wanting to hold the championship, but you're not gonna be like it proved you can't
Yeah.
be a champion and not be aggressive.
And what kind of champion do you want to be? I'd rather be the champion that goes out there and is gonna beat the brakes off of somebody and go and get finishes. Like Israel Adesanya is an amazing champion because he has so many finishes. He's finishing Paulo Costa. He's finishing all these crazy guys going into battle
Yeah.
with Kelvin Gastelum, which, by the way, one of the best title fights I've ever seen.
Agreed.
But, like, there's no legacy. You have no you're the champion. You have nothing to lose. Like, you could lose the belt, but you've now done it. You've won the championship belt. Now go out there and defend it. You know what I'm saying? And they don't do it with the same fire sometimes, which is just frustrating.
Right.
Go fight, man. Big game.
Yeah, there's some good cards coming up.
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
excited. There's a lot of it's great when any matchup in the top 10 of any division is just amazing.
Yeah.
So we're living, like you said, we're living in a very rich time for MMA.
Yep. What do
And-
you think our best weight class is in UFC right now?
Lightweight,
You think so?
yeah, lightweight or bantamweight.
Yeah.
Bantamweight's pretty fucking stacked.
Pretty stacked, dude. There's a lot of really fun fights in there.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think lightweight's been top for a while, though. It's just been so exciting.
featherweight's good too. Like all these, but I mean, you could say the same about welterweight or middleweight. Like there's just killers everywhere.
Yeah.
I think as far as fully stacked, it probably, to me, actually might be bantamweight, just because you got Sean O'Malley down there at 13.
Yeah.
I mean, Marlon Vera,
who's got great fights. Rob Font's no joke.
Rob Font,
He's not got his ass kicked.
but he still was putting out
volume.
Yeah. And then Aldo's in there, Piotr Jan, TJ Dillashaw's back, Henry Cejudo might be coming back. Like, that's a fiery,
some buzz. Those are finishers. Lots of, I think this Henry Cejudo thing would absolutely change up everything.
I would love to see him fight Volkanovski.
Yeah.
If he went in and fought at 45, that would be
so cool.
Prime. Like, because if Volk beats Holloway a third time definitively, he's done it all. Yeah. The only thing left for him to do at 45 is to fight Cejudo.
Yep.
But then he just needs to go up to 55 and just see how he stacks up with them. Him versus like an Islam Makhachev could be incredible.
I would see that fight. I'd like it.
I think that's the inevitable 55 championship fight is Makhachev versus Oliveira. And Oliveira's a fucking stud too.
Yeah, that's why I think that. See, man, I think Oliveira wins that. Everybody's all, Islam's no joke. He's the next Khabib. But look at all the guys that Oliveira has taken the best punch from. Like Michael Chandler, an absolute tank. Look at what he did to Tony Ferguson.
Well, and they're expecting Makhachev to take him down. He's this... Oliveira on the ground is scary.
Exactly. He's scary off of his back. He's quick with submissions. Like, that's gotta be a stand-up fight because... And even then, like, the other thing, too, is, like, it's so enticing because if Makhachev does wrestle him and just absolutely demolish him and takes him into deep waters and drowns him, new Khabib. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Super exciting, but I just don't see that from such a ridiculously active black belt that's just submitting everyone after he knocks everybody out too.
And Oliveira's hands are very underrated. He's got some power in those hands, and he's got the confidence, he's got the swagger. Like, I have underestimated Charles Oliveira every title fight he's been in.
Yep.
I've
picked Gaethje, picked Michael Chandler,
Poirier.
Yep, all of them. Picked them all.
And I think for me, mostly, it wasn't necessarily that I doubted Oliveira. It's that I just am a fan of the other guys.
Yeah.
I'm a fan of Oliveira now. He made me a fan of him.
Oh, yeah.
But also with Makhachev, he hasn't fought anybody in the top 5. Maybe even the top 10. I think he fought one guy in the top 10.
Yeah, supposed to fight Beneil Dariush, and then he dropped, and then he took that fight against...
Green.
Yeah. And then called out, like, I get a title fight now. I'm like, bro.
I think he still needs to fight Dariush.
Well, yeah, he didn't finish. Like, yeah.
Or Michael Chandler.
He's got to have a little bit more of a progression to the top, you know? Same with, like, Khamzat, for example. Like, he's doing it, right? He just had a great fight against Gilbert Burns.
But he also got launched way faster than most guys would, and it shows.
Yeah.
It shows that the top 4 of any division is no joke.
Yeah, and it unmovable. Like, if you feel good enough to beat, because Makhachev didn't take any damage through his first few fights. Like, he was just so much better.
Yeah,
that it was like we can't let him in the ring with these guys. He's a murderer.
Well, and same with Khamzat and both those guys. Or were you talking about Khamzat? Or?
Yeah.
Okay.
Khamzat, yeah.
Makhachev was kind of the same too. He never took any damage.
Yeah, and that's the thing though, is I think, again, getting back to like the fast tracking of fighters in the UFC, I think it's sad sometimes just because you can tell the story that they're trying to portray. Like, for example, on the Contender Series or whatever, the Ultimate Fighter right now, Mohammed Usman, Kamaru Usman's brother, is on it. He's not that good. Yeah. But he's all that they talked about for like...
Because he's Kamaru's brother.
Exactly. And it's a great story. And so sometimes when they get a win, it's like, okay, cool. Now let's put him in another fight that's going to make us some money. Even though it's not... Like, it's too close. Like, they could be making other fights that would just be more exciting.
Right.
You know? But I don't know. If Islam is for real, then I want to see him fight Dariush. Because Dariush is not a joke either.
Yeah.
He hasn't fought.
Another guy, I mean, like I said, top 4 in any division is tough.
Yep.
And I have a prediction. I don't think we ever see Kamaru Usman versus Khamzat.
You don't think so?
Nope. I think Usman's either gonna fight and beat Leon Edwards and retire, or he'll fight and beat Leon Edwards and then get like a mega fight with either like a Nate Diaz or Nate's gonna be gone by then.
Yeah,
but it'll be maybe Dustin Poirier, or I don't know that Poirier would necessarily deserve a title shot right away.
He'd go after a McGregor fight.
McGregor, yeah, that's absolutely a big one. Or maybe Israel.
Yeah.
And he's straight up said that he does not want to do that unless the money's right. The money would be right.
Yeah.
He said, I'll fight Izzy in a title fight, title versus title fight, if the money's right.
Yeah.
There's no way they don't get paid big money for that.
Bucks, bro.
But that's my prediction. He's either got 1 or 2 fights left in him, because they've been saying that he's almost like he's on the retirement road.
Yeah.
And I just don't think he would. Not that I think he's scared of Khamzat. I just don't think
an unnecessary risk.
Right.
Almost,
exactly. That's exactly it. Yes, he is a threat, and it's kind of one of those things like then you look like kind of a punk because this guy just burst onto the scene. Mm-hmm. He's only been fighting in the UFC for like 2 years.
Yeah.
And yeah, I don't know. I don't see it happening. I think, especially what he just did to Gilbert Burns, I think Khamzat definitely has to fight Colby.
Yeah, I think that's the next fight to make for Khamzat for sure. And I think you're right with it too. Usman's just he's been around a while. Mm-hmm. He has.
He's got knee problems.
Yep.
And so I think he beats Leon, and then he just gets that big money fight, whoever it is. Yep. Conor makes sense. Mm-hmm. I don't think Conor beats him.
No, absolutely not.
But
they'll sell it,
and it will be big money.
Oh yeah.
And I think that's the one that makes the most sense for everybody involved. Mm-hmm. But then I think Israel's the only other real like big money option.
Yep.
I don't think they would do it just because they're both like the Nigerian thing.
Yeah. I don't think that they.
Could you imagine though if they did that in Nigeria?
Oh my God. Well, but where would you have it in Nigeria?
No idea. But or just do it in Africa somewhere, like whatever the big arena in Africa you could do it in.
I don't think they'll do it.
I don't think so either. I think Conor makes the most sense.
Yep.
For everyone, because Conor would make good money.
Yeah.
And Conor doesn't at this point. I don't think
can take that fight too. You're good with that.
Yeah. Especially how big he is right now.
Yeah.
I don't see Conor coming back to 55.
No, I don't. I don't even know how many fights Conor's got left. He's got so much money.
Another guy with 1 or 2 fights.
Yep.
And they're only going to be big. They're either going to be title fights or just big money fights, like Nate Diaz, Kamaru Usman.
Yep. I think he's got 2 fights left. I think he fights. I think the best thing for Conor McGregor to do, and as a marketing genius, he knows it too. He's going to take a Nate Diaz fight, and I bet you. Here's my hot take for you. He's signed the 3rd Nate Diaz fight already. And he just hasn't, it just hasn't been released yet, but that's going to headline a card, and then he's going to, if he wins, which I think he would, he's going to call out Usman immediately.
Especially if they fight at 170, which they would be 170.
Exactly.
I agree. I think that's why they're holding out on Nate so much. Mm-hmm. That's the fight to make. You got to do a 3rd one. You have to.
And that's the Nate Diaz retirement fight. That's it. He gets his bag and he's out. Just one more swoop from Conor McGregor through the UFC, couple money fights, and then I think he's done. And then I think Usman too. Just because. If you look at Khamzat, nobody in their right mind wants to necessarily fight that guy right away. You know what I mean?
I think Colby, it makes sense for everyone because...
as Usman, though, I don't want to fight him right now.
No, and he doesn't really deserve it yet. Not to say he doesn't, but you got to have one more to get that title shot. Yeah. So I think Colby... And Conor really wouldn't earn a title shot either, but they'll do it.
Yeah,
because
it's money.
Yeah.
And Usman's confident he could beat McGregor.
Well, Usman would easily take that fight. But you got the whole stipulation of like, Conor doesn't deserve to get a title shot at 170.
Yeah.
But who's gonna say no to that?
Everybody wants the money, and he's on the that's what I'm saying too. Is he's on the decline. You get a big bag right before you go, and you retire. And he's already got money, and he's been champion for so long. They cheat their champions so good, dude. So I'm betting if McGregor takes that Nate Diaz trilogy fight and wins, calls out Usman, and Usman responds immediately with "Let's do this." You know what I mean? So I'm here for it. I mean, screw it. I'm a fan. I'll watch.
Yeah. One more matchup for you, and then we'll get you out of here.
Yeah.
How do you think it fares? Because I think this is the ultimate option. I think this is what it's gonna be.
Mm-hmm.
Jones versus Stipe.
I've been thinking a lot about that one. I want to see him fight Gone. I want to see him fight Cyril Gone. Honestly.
Jones?
Yep. I think Stipe's good, but I think he's just old. And I think, because he's a Daniel Cormier area fighter. He was there fighting against Daniel Cormier. And,
Jones has also been out of the ring a long time.
But he's also one of those controversial figures where you want to see him in a he could absolutely lose, and if he does, great. You know what I mean? Because then you've got yourself. They already wanted Cyril Gane to be a champion once, and if they get him to beat somebody like a John Jones, right back to a title shot. And I think if anybody beats Francis Ngannou right now, it's Cyril Gane. He just needed one of those brawler fights. He didn't have any but he's got the striking to beat Francis Ngannou. I just think the Stipe fight is over too quickly. I think John Jones' defense in the takedown department is really good. His clinch work is really good.
I think if there's a difference maker for Stipe, it's that John's never fought at heavyweight.
True.
Like, that's the only real... I think that's the biggest advantage Stipe has, is that he's used to that weight. And granted, John Jones has been working on that weight for a very long time. Like, he's been working at that weight.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't know if he's going to know how to manage it once the bell rings and you're in there with arguably one of the greatest heavyweights of all time.
Yeah. Yeah.
The most decorated heavyweight of all time, at least. Who's fought some really good fight,
Yeah, every fight's been a banger. He fought...
You're
talking about Stipe.
Yeah, he beat Francis once. Yep. He beat Cormier twice. He beat Alistair Overeem. He beat Fabricio Verdum.
Mm-hmm. I just think taking that damage from Francis Ngannou is going to put anybody in a situation where they're pretty freaking...
glass jaw.
Yeah.
They might have that quick shut off.
Yep.
And you might be right about that, too. I just think that's a really compelling fight.
I think so, too. I wouldn't be opposed to seeing that fight because I think it's one of those same things of what you're talking about, where they're just great draws, and either direction that it goes, it's huge. Because it's like a Stipe gets a massive springboard to fight for the title again. John Jones will get a massive spring to fight for the title again because they're going to say Francis Ngannou got beat by Stipe. They're going to want him to fight for the title. It's John Jones. If John Jones has a decisive victory, people are going to start screaming GOAT. And then...
Well, that's the title fight, is John versus either Francis or a vacant title.
Yep. And I think that's... I'm here for both of those. I also just think that it, to an extent, don't know that they're managing... Like, because we were talking about the top 4 guys being pretty consistent.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know that they're letting the people in that should have... more shots. You know what I mean? Like, Bam Bam's in there. Bam Bam's got some opportunities.
Tom
Aspinall's in there.
He's fighting Curtis Blades coming up.
That's
Blades a tough matchup.
Big fight, too. Like, it's just a lot of guys in there that I think John Jones coming back should, and especially not even coming back to a higher weight class. I think you got to start with one of those other guys. You know what I mean?
I would agree, but I think they're going to go for the star power, especially with as long as he's been out, and who knows when the next time he gets in there.
Yeah.
Like, you've got to give us the best John Jones matchup that there is. And he's proven that he was still considered one of the probably the best of all time in some people's eyes. Like, I kind of disagree in some ways, but still one of the unarguably greatest talents that's ever been in an MMA ring.
Champion ever, undefeated.
So because of that resume, you kind of have to feed him the toughest guy.
Yep.
I mean, the whole point is to see if he has a weakness.
Yep. I think that's completely fair. And I mean, in all honesty, man, his style of fighting with that much weight is just more power. And he's already got at light heavyweight, he had ridiculous power.
Yeah.
Knockout power and everything. Fought everybody. Like, Daniel Cormier, Hall of Famer. Like, put the work to all these guys. I think you're right. I just think that I want like a Cyril, like I want one of those setups to be one of those situations where, like, because all those other guys in there, the Curtis Blades and like Tom Aspinall and stuff like that, I want to see them go for title shots.
Agreed.
Like, in the end, at the end of the day,
and usually heavyweight, it does kind of bounce around.
Yeah,
I think the longest reign as a heavyweight is 3.
Yeah.
So
well, I mean, look at all that power that's sitting out there, So they're Tom Aspinall's wild, Curtis Blades just had a big win over Dawkins. Dawkins is still good.
I mean, you still got Derek Lewis out there. You got Gone.
Yep.
So it's a stacked division too. Like, they're all stacked in my mind. So
what a blessing of an era of MMA, dude.
Agreed.
Just thank God that we have so many just wonderful talents that are doing such crazy shit in the octagon.
Oh, I know.
It's like all of them have insane knockouts, and we didn't even used to have that before. We used to have guys who would wrestle and pull hair.
Yeah, for real.
Yeah.
Well, give us one more time the details on the fight this weekend.
Yep, so it's June 3rd on a Friday. Doors open at 7. The official card hasn't been announced yet, so stay tuned for that one. It's up on Fusion's page and everything like that. You can still get your tickets at the Metro website. They're all on there. Yeah, 170. We'll get her done.
Sweet. And I actually forgot to mention this to you, to give a little heads up.
Yeah.
I always like to end my episodes with a positive or motivational message from the guest.
Okay.
What do you got?
Okay. You're hitting me with one.
See, and I usually give a heads up.
Yeah.
Just so it's not off surprise, but I forgot.
You will always regret the thing that you didn't do more than actually doing it. So don't regret not doing something. Especially like getting into the ring and fighting, bro.
That's a good.
Don't regret not doing
That's a good comparison for sure.
Yeah.
Well, I look forward to your fight, man. I'm gonna be there. I'll be there in the stands watching.
Heck yeah, we'll catch you a dub.
Heck yeah, man.
You'll get hit by some blood.
Appreciate you coming on. I really do. And to everybody out there, thank you for watching. And don't forget, life's a garden. Dig it.
Just gotta